Now get out of here, or I'll put you in the hospital. This was said by that fighter who came at me with his fists crunching. The same fighter. The man my wife had been secretly sleeping with for 3 months. He was standing in front of me with his muscles bulging, his chest puffed out, like he was going to cage me. And Claire next to him. Arms folded across her chest, waiting for me to step back. Like a cowardly husband. My name's Gavin Mercer. I'm 38 years old and I spent 14 years in special operations before coming home to Dallas, Texas. I work construction now, building houses instead of neutralizing threats in places most people can't pronounce. But some habits never leave you, like reading a room, like knowing when someone's all show and no substance. She's finally with someone strong, Chase Donovan continued, stepping closer. His breath smelled like protein powder and cheap beer. Someone who can actually protect her. I gave him a slight smile. Fighting in a cage is one thing. Spending 14 years neutralizing threats overseas taught me 53 ways to end a fight without breaking a sweat. He laughed, but I saw his eyes flicker. Doubt creeping in. Good. You think your little military stories scare me, he said, but his voice had lost some of its edge. I started unbuttoning my sleeves, rolling them up slowly. Not because I planned to fight him, because I wanted him to see the scars. The ones from shrapnel in Kandahar. The burn marks from a chemical fire in Somalia. The knife wound from a close encounter in Syria that should have killed me but didn't. Chase's posture changed. His shoulders dropped just a fraction. Stop, Gavin, Claire said, her voice sharper now. You're making a scene. I looked at her. Really looked at her. The woman I'd married 6 years ago. The woman who used to trace those same scars with her fingertips and tell me she was proud of what I'd sacrificed for our country. Now she was standing beside a guy who thought flexing his biceps made him dangerous. I'm not making anything, I said quietly. Just showing your boyfriend what real fighting looks like. Chase backed up a step, then another. This isn't over, he said. But we all knew it was. I walked to my truck, started the engine, and drove away. But as I pulled out of the parking lot, I saw Chase lean down and whisper something to Claire. Something that made her nod and smile. Something that told me this wasn't about my wife anymore. This was about a man who thought he could intimidate a veteran and get away with it. He had no idea what he'd just started. Claire and I met at a coffee shop near the base when I was still active duty. She was finishing her nursing degree, working double shifts to pay for school. I was between deployments, trying to figure out how to be normal for 3 weeks before heading back to the desert. She made me laugh, made me forget about the things I'd seen. Made me believe I could build something good when I finally came home for good. We got married 2 years later. Small ceremony, just family and a few of my army buddies. Claire wore her grandmother's dress and cried when I promised to love her through whatever came next. I meant every word. The transition was harder than I expected. Civilian life felt slow, quiet, boring. I jumped at sudden noises. Had trouble sleeping. Claire would wake up in the middle of the night to find me checking the locks on the doors, making sure the windows were secure. She never complained, just held me until the tension left my shoulders. I found work with Drift Line Construction, building custom homes for wealthy families in South Dallas. The physical labor helped. Using my hands to create instead of destroy. My boss, Dean Porter, was a former Marine who understood what guys like me needed. Structure, purpose, respect for what we'd been through. But over the past year, something had shifted. Claire started working out at a new gym, started coming home later, started looking at her phone more and at me less. She said she needed space to find herself. Said I was too intense, too serious, too stuck in the past. I should have seen the signs. The way she flinched when I touched her. The way she avoided eye contact during dinner. The way she started picking fights about small things like I loaded the dishwasher wrong or forgot to buy the right kind of milk. 3 months ago, she told me she was staying at her sister's house for a while. Needed time to think. I found out about Chase Donovan 2 weeks later when my neighbor's kid posted a picture on social media. Claire and some muscle-bound guy at a restaurant downtown holding hands across the table. I did what any reasonable man would do. I drove to the gym where he trained, watched him spar with other fighters, listened to him brag about his record, his technique, his plans to go professional. He was good, fast, strong, but he was also reckless, overconfident, the kind of fighter who relied on intimidation more than skill. The confrontation at Murphy's bar wasn't accidental. Claire had texted me asking to meet. Said she wanted to talk about divorce papers, but when I showed up, Chase was already there waiting like they'd planned it. Like they wanted to humiliate me in front of whoever might be watching. They had succeeded, but not in the way they expected. I sat in my truck for an hour after leaving the bar, engine running, heat blasting, trying to process what had just happened. Not the confrontation itself. I'd face down men with actual weapons, actual training, actual reasons to want me dead. Chase Donovan was a playground bully with good marketing. No, what bothered me was the setup. The way Claire had specifically asked me to meet her at Murphy's. The way Chase was already there when I arrived, positioned near the back exit like he was expecting trouble. The way she stood beside him with her arms crossed, watching me like I was some kind of entertainment. They had planned this. My wife and her boyfriend had orchestrated a public humiliation. They wanted to see me back down. Wanted to prove to themselves and anyone watching that I was just another broken veteran who couldn't handle the real world. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through Claire's recent texts. Can we meet tonight? I think it's time we talked about our future. Simple, direct. No mention of bringing backup. Then I noticed something else. In the reflection of the bar window, I'd seen Chase holding his phone recording. The entire confrontation had been filmed. My chest tightened, not from anger, from recognition. This was an operation. They weren't just trying to hurt me. They were trying to document it. Probably planning to share it with friends, family, maybe even post it online. Look at how we made the big tough soldier run away with his tail between his legs. I started the truck and drove home. Not to the apartment I'd been renting since Claire moved out, but to the house we'd bought together 3 years ago. The house where my tools were still stored in the garage, where my military records were filed in the office closet, where I kept the evidence of who I really was. I spent the next 2 hours going through paperwork, deployment records, commendations, photos from missions I couldn't talk about with people who didn't have the right clearances, letters from commanding officers who trusted me with their lives and the lives of their men. Then I opened my laptop and did something I hadn't done in years. I logged into secure networks I still had access to. Made a few phone calls to people who owed me favors. Verified some information about Chase Donovan that he probably thought was private. By midnight, I had a complete profile. His real name, his actual fight record, his financial situation, his business partnerships, his social media presence, his weaknesses. Claire thought she'd found herself a strong man. Chase thought he'd intimidated a washed-up soldier. They were both about to learn the difference between fighting for sport and fighting for keeps. I closed the laptop and went to bed. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. I waited 3 days before making my first move. During those 3 days, I watched. I followed Chase Donovan's routine without him knowing. Morning workouts at Elite Fitness on South Boulevard, lunch at the same protein smoothie place, afternoons training at Iron Combat Academy, evenings at Murphy's Bar or downtown clubs, usually with Claire. He was predictable, loud, always talking about his next fight, his training regimen, his plans to sign with a major promotion, always making sure people knew he was the guy who'd scared off some pathetic ex-soldier. On Wednesday morning, I walked into Elite Fitness during Chase's usual workout time. I'd done my research. The gym offered day passes for $20. I bought one and started lifting weights 3 stations away from where he was training. He noticed me immediately, pointed me out to his training partner. They both laughed. I kept lifting. After 30 minutes, he walked over. "You following me now, old man?" I set down the weights and looked at him. "Just working out. This is a public gym." "Yeah, well, maybe you should find a different gym." I'd hate for things to get uncomfortable. "For who?" He stepped closer. Close enough that I could smell his pre-workout supplement. "For you. When I'm training, I need focus. Distractions make me angry." I nodded slowly. "I understand. When I was in Syria, distractions got people killed. But this isn't Syria. This is Dallas, and I paid for a day pass just like everyone else." Other people were starting to watch. Chase's face reddened. He was trapped between backing down in front of his training partners or escalating in a place where he could get banned. "You need to leave," he said louder now. Or what? Or I'll make you leave. That's when the gym manager showed up, a middle-aged guy named Tony who'd been watching from behind the front desk. Problem here? Tony asked. This guy's harassing me, Chase said immediately, following me around, trying to start trouble. Tony looked at me. That true? I'm just working out, I said. Haven't said a word to anyone. Tony glanced around at the other gym members, most of whom had been watching the entire exchange. Chase, you approached him. I saw the whole thing. He's my ex-wife's. Chase started, then stopped. Had almost said husband, which would have made him look like the aggressor in a domestic situation. He's what? Tony asked. Nothing. Just keep him away from me. Tony turned to me. You planning to cause any trouble? Just want to finish my workout in peace. Then do that. Both of you. Chase stalked back to his weights, but the damage was done. His training partners had seen him back down. Other gym members had heard him claim harassment when had been the one doing the approaching. Word would spread. I finished my workout and left. But as I was walking to my truck, I noticed Chase's car in the parking lot. A bright red Mustang with custom plates that read, "Knockout." Flashy, attention-seeking. Perfect. I also noticed something else, a small crack in the rear window, probably from a piece of gravel on the highway. The kind of thing that would spread if you hit the right pressure point. I didn't touch his car. Didn't need to. But I took a picture of the license plate and the crack. Insurance companies were very interested in documenting existing damage, especially when claims got filed. Later that afternoon, I called Claire. She answered on the fourth ring. What do you want, Gavin? To apologize for the other night. I was out of line. Silence. Then, you were embarrassing. I know. I've been thinking about what you said about me being stuck in the past. Maybe it's time I moved forward. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm ready to sign the divorce papers. No fight, no lawyers, just clean and simple. More silence. Really? Really? Can we meet tomorrow somewhere neutral? I'll bring everything signed. Okay. Murphy's Bar. 7 p.m. Perfect. I hung up and smiled. Phase 2 was ready to begin. That evening, I drove to Iron Combat Academy where Chase Donovan trained in the afternoons. The gym was in an industrial part of town, tucked between a tire shop and a storage facility. Through the windows, I could see him sparring with a training partner, throwing combinations, working on his ground game. I didn't go inside. Instead, I sat in my truck and made phone calls. The first call was to a buddy of mine from the service, Mitchell Hayes. After leaving the army, he had transitioned into private security. More importantly, he had connections in the mixed martial arts world through his work providing security for events. Gavin, long time, he said when he answered. How's civilian life treating you? Could be better. I need a favor. Information on a fighter named Chase Donovan. Trains at Iron Combat Academy in Dallas. What kind of information? The kind that might not be in his official record. Mitchell was quiet for a moment. You in some kind of trouble? The opposite. I'm trying to stay out of trouble. Give me an hour. The second call was to my neighbor, Irene Walsh. Irene was 73 years old, retired from a career in banking, and spent most of her time watching the neighborhood through her front window. She also happened to be the treasurer for our homeowners association. Gavin, dear, how are you holding up? She asked. Getting by, Irene. I was wondering if you could help me with something. Do you remember about 6 months ago when Claire started working out at that new gym? Of course. She looked wonderful. All that exercise really agreed with her. Do you happen to remember when she started staying out late, coming home at odd hours? Irene was quiet for a moment. Gavin, are you sure you want to know these things? I'm sure. I think it started in February. Valentine's Day weekend. Actually, she left Saturday morning and didn't come back until Sunday evening. You were working that weekend, weren't you? Installing cabinets for the Reynolds family. February. 3 months before Claire told me she needed space. 3 months before she moved to her sister's house. She'd been planning this for half a year. Did you see her with anyone during that time? A few times. A young man in a red sports car, very muscular, very loud. How loud? Well, he had one of those cars with the modified exhaust. Woke up half the neighborhood when he picked her up. And he wasn't very discreet about their relationship. I knew what she meant. Chase Donovan wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He was flaunting it. Making sure the neighbors saw them together. Making sure word got back to me. My phone buzzed. Text from Mitchell Hayes, "Call me. Found something interesting." I thanked Irene and called Mitchell back. "Your boy's got problems," Mitchell said without preamble. Real name is Bradley Donovan. Goes by Chase for marketing purposes. His fight record isn't exactly what he advertises. What do you mean? He claims to be 8-2 in professional fights. Actually, closer to 4-6 if you count the fights that didn't get official recognition. He's been padding his record by fighting guys way out of their league or by getting fights stopped early due to injuries that couldn't be verified. Anything else? He's been trying to get signed by major promotions for 2 years. Keeps getting turned down. Word is, he doesn't have the skills to back up his mouth. But here's the interesting part. He's been posting videos on social media claiming he scared off some Special Forces veteran who was stalking his girlfriend. Getting a lot of attention for it. So there it was. Chase wasn't just humiliating me for fun. He was using our confrontation to build his brand, to make himself look tougher than he actually was. Mitchell, how hard would it be to verify someone's military service record for someone with your clearance level? About 10 minutes. I'll call you back. I spent Thursday morning at the construction site, but my mind was elsewhere. Dean Porter noticed during our lunch break. "You okay, Gavin? You've been distracted all week." Dean was one of the few people who knew about my situation with Claire. Had been through a messy divorce himself a few years back. "Just working through some things," I said. "Anything I can help with?" I looked at him. Dean was in his 50s, built like a brick wall with hands that could crush a beer can or delicately install crown molding depending on the job. Had served 2 tours in Iraq and understood the unspoken code between veterans. "Maybe. You still have contacts at the newspaper?" "My ex-sister-in-law works for the Dallas Observer." "Why?" "I might have a story for her. About stolen valor." Dean's expression hardened. Stolen valor was a serious accusation in our community. Men and women had died for the right to call themselves veterans. Anyone who falsely claimed military service was lower than dirt. "Someone claiming to be something they're not?" he asked. "Maybe. I need to verify some information first. Let me know if your contact might be interested." "That's serious, Gavin. Keep me posted." That afternoon, I used my security clearance to access military service records. It took exactly 12 minutes to confirm what I suspected. There was no record of anyone named Chase Donovan or Bradley Donovan serving in any branch of the United States military. Yet according to his social media profiles and his gym biography, Chase claimed to be a former Marine who had served in Afghanistan before transitioning to mixed martial arts. Had been telling that story for over a year, using it to build credibility with potential sponsors and training partners. I screenshotted everything. Then I called Mitchell Hayes back. "I need another favor. Can you get me contact information for the promoters who turned down Chase Donovan?" "Probably. What are you planning?" "Just leveling the playing field." That evening, I showed up at Murphy's Bar 15 minutes early for my meeting with Claire. I chose a table near the back where I could see the entire room. Old habits. Claire arrived exactly on time, alone. She looked nervous. "Where are the papers?" she asked, sitting across from me. "Right here," I said, sliding a manila envelope across the table. "Everything signed. No contest. You can have the house, the cars, whatever you want." She opened the envelope and flipped through the documents. Her expression shifted from suspicion to confusion to relief. "This is more generous than I expected. I just want to move on. Start fresh." "What about Chase? He said you might cause trouble." "Chase doesn't factor into this. This is between you and me." She nodded, but I saw her checking her phone under the table, probably texting him, letting him know the coast was clear. "There is one thing," I said. "What?" "I'd like to apologize to him too. For the other night. Maybe we could all meet somewhere, clear the air, put this behind us." Claire looked surprised. "Really? Really?" I was out of line. "Let me buy him a drink, shake hands, show there are no hard feelings. I'll ask him." "Great. How about Saturday night? Hey, race probably fine. She agreed and left 20 minutes later, taking the divorce papers with her. I stayed for another hour, nursing a beer and thinking through the final phase of my plan. By Saturday night, Chase Donovan would discover that some fights can't be won with muscle and intimidation. Some battles required strategy, patience, and the willingness to hit your opponent where they were weakest. I paid my tab and walked out into the Dallas night, ready for war. Saturday night at Murphy's Bar, Chase Donovan strutted in like he owned the place. Claire followed behind him, looking uncomfortable. I was already seated at the same table where we'd met during the week, 2 empty chairs waiting. Gavin, Claire said, sitting down carefully. Chase agreed to meet. Chase remained standing, arms crossed. This better not be some kind of setup. Just want to clear the air, I said, gesturing to the empty chair. Drink, he said, sitting down reluctantly. Beer and make it quick. I've got training tomorrow. Actually, about that training, I said, pulling out my phone. I saw your fight videos online. Pretty impressive. His chest puffed up. Yeah, well, I've got sponsors interested. Big things coming. Must be tough, though. All that military training in Afghanistan, then transitioning to civilian fighting. Claire frowned. Military training? Chase's jaw tightened. It's not something I like to talk about. Of course not, I said, scrolling through my phone. A lot of us prefer to keep our service quiet. What unit were you with? 2nd Marines, he said quickly. I nodded slowly. Interesting, because according to the Department of Defense database I accessed yesterday, there's no record of anyone named Chase Donovan or Bradley Donovan ever serving in the Marine Corps. The color drained from his face. There is, however, a very detailed social media history of you claiming to be a combat veteran, using that false background to gain credibility with sponsors, training partners, and apparently women. You're lying, he said, but his voice cracked. I turned my phone around, showing him screenshots of his military record search. Empty. No results found. Stolen valor is a federal crime, Chase. But that's just the beginning. I pulled out a manila folder. Your real fight record. Your failed steroid test from last year that you managed to keep quiet. The 3 promoters who blacklisted you for unprofessional conduct. The gym membership fees you haven't paid in 2 months. Claire was staring at him now. Chase, what is he talking about? And this, I said, producing my phone again. Video evidence of you threatening a United States veteran in this very parking lot, followed by you posting edited footage online to make yourself look tough. His face went from pale to red. You can't prove any of this. I don't have to prove it. I already sent everything to Dean Porter's brother-in-law at the Dallas Observer. Should be front page tomorrow. Local MMA fighter caught in stolen valor scandal. Chase lunged across the table. I was ready for it. I caught his wrist, applied pressure to a nerve cluster ID learned in Syria, and watched him drop back into his chair, gasping. The difference between you and me, I said quietly, isn't that I'm tougher. It's that I know how to fight wars, not just battles. The Dallas Observer ran the story 3 days later. Local fighters' false military claims exposed by veteran. The article included Chase's fabricated service record, his padded fight statistics, and quotes from 3 different gym owners who confirmed had been training on unpaid memberships. Within a week, Iron Combat Academy terminated his membership. Elite Fitness banned him permanently. 2 potential sponsors pulled their offers. The regional MMA promotion had been courting released a statement distancing themselves from any association with stolen valor. Claire filed for divorce herself. After discovering that Chase had been using her credit card to pay for his training expenses, she moved back to her sister's house, but this time it wasn't temporary. The man she thought was strong had turned out to be a fraud in every way that mattered. Chase tried calling me twice, left voicemails claiming had been misunderstood, that it was all a mistake. I deleted them without listening to the full messages. 6 months later, I heard through Mitchell Hayes that Chase had moved to Florida, trying to restart his fighting career under a different name. But the internet doesn't forget. His reputation followed him wherever he went. I kept the house, found a new routine, started sleeping better. The hypervigilance that had defined my post-military life finally began to fade, replaced by something I hadn't felt in years, peace. Dean Porter offered me a partnership in drift line construction. Said he needed someone he could trust to help expand the business. Someone who understood the difference between building something and tearing it down. I accepted. On quiet evenings, I sometimes thought about that night in Murphy's bar, about the moment Chase Donovan realized that real strength isn't about muscles or intimidation. It's about knowing who you are and having the courage to defend it. Some fights are worth having. Others teach you that walking away is the strongest thing you can do. Have you ever thought about your own story? How many times have you clenched your fist but stepped back? Perhaps the question is not who wins or loses, but who is truly free.